Ontario reported more than 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 today. In Toronto alone, 850 people tested positive for the virus, a single-day record for the city. The spike in new cases comes as officials are considering extending the current lockdown and imposing more restrictions. Toronto Mayor John Tory joins us live from that city. Hi, Mayor Tory, good to see you as always. Appreciate you making the time.
Pleasure, Raji.
I listened to your comments earlier today, and what really stood out for me was the comparison in how the lockdown affected things in the first wave and what it is not doing this time around. Can you outline for our viewers what the situation is as you see it, rather?
Well, I think part of it was just people's initial fears that they had about the virus back in sort of March, April. And I think that led to people, and you know, it was pretty clear that people were just meant to stay home, period, full stop. Nobody was going to work. All businesses were essentially closed. And we saw from anonymized phone data, for example, that pretty much everybody, their phones stayed home all day. And I don't think they left their phones home and went out. You know, they left their phones there. Now we see under a situation that is meant to be very similar, where people are meant to be more or less locked down, except those who really have to go to work, that there's a lot more mobility and activity. You know, it looks like maybe 20–25% more. And I think this is just inhibiting, you know, the kind of improvement that we were looking for in putting these restrictions in place. Was their provincial restrictions, but we supported them. So now we've got to find a way to get people to stay home. And I think part of that might well be just giving them fewer places to go by making sure that the lockdown, you know, is broader in nature. And this is a good time to do it. I think it's a quieter time of the year, and I think it will do less damage to business, recognizing anything you do does some damage to business, but these health numbers are unacceptable and the hospital situation is getting worse.
When you talk about rather the increase in mobility, are they going to regions that are still surrounding Toronto that are open, or is it still within the city?
That's a very good question, because most of the regions surrounding Toronto now, Peel to the west and where Brampton and Mississauga is for people who are not from this area, and to the north are in lockdown like us, but to the east, they're not. And we've seen evidence even as far away as Hamilton, which is not that far in national terms, but it's, you know, say an hour's drive from here, that the people are going to the malls and shopping there. They're extending their hours. So what you really have to do, I think, is a broader regional lockdown that is stricter in nature in the context of just saying to people over this quieter Christmas period, we're going to have many fewer places for you to go because we simply have to get people to stay home and only socialize with the people they live with. And that's the other problem, of course, is people are making plans. What we're really worried about is more so January than anything else, because everybody's saying, well, you know, I'm going to do what you say and stay home and only socialize with the people I live with, except Cousin Ed or Uncle Frank or the grandma. You know, we're going to have them over for Christmas dinner. And we're just saying, no. I mean, the people you live with are the people you live with. Staying home means staying home, please. And it's a terrible Christmas in many respects, but we can get all this over with faster if people just go along with that.
Do you think the main problem is over the next few weeks, people gathering in their homes? Or do you think it's going to be something to do with, for example, going out to businesses? Like, is that why you're considering further restrictions on that end? Or is it a mix?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, because you want people to stay home. You don't want them to have anybody over. And that's the really tough part, say, right around Christmas and New Year's, is please just, you know, socialize with the people you live with. You get to know them better and, you know, all that and so on. But the second part is, you know, if there are stores and other places open, people will go to them. They're human beings. They like going places and doing things, especially if they're off work. So I think a combination of closing more things for a slightly longer period of time and really pushing people on the message of staying home is the combination we need to try and make this work, plus the mask wearing and the hand washing and the other things people know about.
When you talk about closing more things, what specifically are you looking at? I'm thinking, for example, of what we listened to during our show last night from the Premier of Quebec, who's closing all non-essential businesses for a 2-week period from December 25th to January 11th. Is that something under consideration?
Yeah, I haven't been listing things off because we're engaged in detailed discussions, because we want this to be region-wide. You have to get all the people in a region that is home to 7 million people to agree, and that's not always simple. And the province, of course, ultimately is the one that will legislate this or regulate this. But I would say, yes, I pointed out today in my news conference that I thought that the initiative taken by the Premier of Quebec was one that we should really take a look at in terms of office buildings and people who are not essential to the well-being of the city or the province or the region in this period of time. So, yes.
And what about beyond that? I think there are a lot of people right now obviously contending with what they do over Christmas, but the fear is what happens in January. When you look at these restrictive measures, is it something that you'd like to see for, I mean, I know it's going to depend on the results, but do you think, based on the data that you have in front of you, that this is something that people in Toronto are likely looking at for the next few months, or should they be looking at it week to week?
I think if we have a jolt now, which is the word I used to describe it today, where we close more things for the holiday period, that by about the same time as when Quebec says they're going to come out in early January, we could be on the other side of some better numbers. And with the hope of the vaccine then really in hand, because more people will be getting ready to receive it. So I just think that kind of a period of time. And I said to our Premier today that I thought we needed to have a very robust, well thought through business reopening strategy so that people could also see that that is our plan, is to reopen, but to have this jolt, to have this, period where we really say, seriously, we're going to reduce the number of places you have to go, and we're going to really encourage you to stay home and do those things that we've been asking for some time now.
Was the Premier receptive to your comments on the jolt?
Well, we chatted about that. I don't want to put any words in his mouth or attribute anything to him. He's got a lot of people to talk to. This is a big region, which has many governments within it. We're the biggest city in the country and the biggest city in the region, but he's got lots of people to talk to. And if this is going to be effective, I think it has to be right across the region. And I hope that he finds his way there, and I hope that the other people in the region support him. But I'm just speaking for myself and for the City of Toronto.
Okay, Mayor Tory, I'll leave it there. Wishing you the best during the holiday season if I don't see you before
And
Christmas.
the same to you and to all your viewers. And thanks very much, Vashi.
Thanks, Mayor Tory. That's John Tory, the Mayor of Toronto. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.